How's everybody been this week?
Oh, fine. Still upset I lost all my assets.
Oh, can't even, that hurts for weeks, doesn't it? Like it's not
Yes,
something that just,
actually, the color palettes are what are killing me. My color palettes.
I wonder if there's any way of at least do you have patterns or anything that
Yeah,
you've
I can
created?
pull them, but boy, that takes some time. Yeah, I
Yeah,
have my patterns that I did save, but it's fine.
it's fine.
On
Well,
the on the color palettes, is there a way to use the color palettes you have in Procreate in Affinity? Is there a way to do that or
you can
I mean,
bring
you
them
can
in and
screenshot
then,
it.
yeah, use them to sample your colors for sure.
When I've done that though, they're different hex codes. So if you don't care, it works, but they're not precise.
hmm. Okay.
That's good to know. That's really good
Yeah.
to know. What's everybody feeling? Like, how are you feeling about this template that I posted this week? Like your class that I'm doing with you this week. Were you as excited about it as me when you started actually working with it?
Yeah.
That's great. I love what everybody's doing with it, and everybody's doing something so different. That's what to me was just like mind blowing because the look of, let's say, Rhonda's compared to the one that Melanie posted first. And Melanie, now that you've used it more than once, what's your feeling on it?
We're talking about the four motif one.
Yeah, the quad motif, yeah.
I think I've used it 1.5 times. Like I have one that's in progress. No, I really like it. I feel like I don't remember now. I think when you were working on it, you were working in the square, but I think I put them on the side I think you had a place to do it on the side. I like to do it on the side because when I do it right in the template, I move too many things and I get confused. So for me, I'd rather do it off to the side. But no, it was really easy to use. It was really easy to just move them around a little bit based on if you had a thing with a stem and just to make it all fit. Like it was so easy.
Okay, that's good. That's one of the main things I'm wondering about is how everybody's finding the level of difficulty with it. And that's one of the reasons that I only posted just the one for this week. I do have another one that's completely ready that I could post for
I
this
think
week as well. But
I have more trouble with the reflections and the symbol and the double. That is a lot harder for me than like the dropping the motif and then the motif shows up everywhere. I don't know if everyone else feels that way.
I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on it. First of all, how many people have had the chance to use it? Just a show of hands.
Yeah.
That's good then. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay, Sherry, do you want to give us a little bit of just insight? What did you find? What did you really like about it, first of all? And then what was there anything in there that you found a little bit difficult?
I didn't find anything difficult. Is that the one that there was one template where I had to use the navigation tool to move things in the right place. It didn't matter how I moved the motifs, but it wasn't that one. I'm sure it wasn't. But I loved being able to, it's this large flower and I just plopped in a large flower and adjusted that the way I wanted and everything adjusted all around it. And then just kept plopping things in and it just works great. I just felt, oh, I could do so many different kinds of motifs in there and it would still look good. And I only had to flip a couple of things around because I had added a flower stem to a leaf and they bumped against each other a couple times. You just move one and it goes, oh, that's done.
So
It works now.
it was clear about when to move the actual symbol and when to move things within the symbol. That was clear enough.
In your directions, very much, because I think you repeated it twice in that video about how to do that. And
Okay,
you just
good.
have to jiggle it a
So
little
that's a
bit
good
to
thing.
see. Yeah.
It's a good thing you called out multiple times so then we don't miss how important
Yeah,
it is.
a bit of a
Right.
balance, right? A bit of a
Right.
balance trying to decide whether I should be harping on something or because I also know that I do it in multiple classes. I'll mention that same thing in multiple classes. I know for myself, when I'm in learning mode, I'm still learning something that sometimes it can't be repeated enough. You're trying to do it, and then if the teacher says, by the way, remember, and then you do that, and then it's like perfect timing that they say it right then and there.
I wouldn't assume if you said it in a previous class that we remember it because, but if it's a class that's completely separate, definitely not. But even if it's like consecutive classes, it could be a week between me watching them. So I don't feel like you're too repetitive if it was in the previous class.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always good to hear a reminder.
Yeah,
So,
because it could be
I
5
know, because
classes, it
I'm
could be
right,
several.
exactly. Yeah, because I plan on going through the whole course again, just so that I can get things in my brain.
Okay.
And it is getting easier now that we have repeated several types of things.
Okay,
I
well, that's great
appreciate
to
it
know too,
a
Sherry.
lot.
Thank you. Rhonda, you used it. What are your observations on that one? And would there be anything else that I could have added or could add to it?
No, I don't think so. I really liked it. I did exactly what Melanie said, worked on the side and got everything the way I wanted it there, and then went into the pattern and decided I added a lot to it. I think that's what makes mine a lot different than other people's. I moved some of the actual motifs around from where you had them, but I like that it was easy because I could see it and I was like, oh, these are too close together. So I would just switch it with something else. So it was a much easier place to start from than starting with a blank canvas. Oh,
Okay, good. I was very impressed with Josephine's that she posted as well. Hers turned out really nice. So she posted it in the community. Rhonda's yours was great too. The ones that I'm seeing coming from this template make me feel very satisfied that you are really progressing with what you're learning. So that's fantastic news for me too. Anybody else get a chance to use it yet? Nancy, yes. And how did you feel about, you're more of a, if you don't mind my saying, more of a newbie. So
Total newbie.
yeah, so I feel like that was a big accomplishment for you, considering that you just really are just learning.
I
What,
really got it. The way you explained it made it easy to get, and I felt I put it together really fast, and it was easy. I can understand that the layout, because I understand like that kind of stuff. The other stuff, I have to remember the steps, and it's not always easy to make the flower, just wait, what, add what. But it was straightforward, and basically what Rhonda said about working through the side, putting them in the side, and then changing them in the layout once you get all the assets into the side.
okay,
So that was really good. And what you explained about the symbols, moving the symbol or the group within the symbol, the asset within the symbol, that helped a lot in terms of changing one or two things. And
okay.
then putting the background into your explanation was very clear, and yeah, I could totally get it.
I appreciate that.
Got to get the assets made and just yeah,
Now
I'm
it's the
distracted.
backing track. We're backtracking to the point of having enough assets for each pattern.
Yes.
Has anybody got any specific issues? Lindy, did you see anything specific that you want me to address? Or go ahead, Pam.
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I just uploaded a template into the chat, and it's back from Affinity Foundations where you showed us how to initially make our own templates. So I've been working with that thing, and I'm having trouble figuring out how to download just that middle single tile.
Once you have it completed,
Yes.
you just hit the export. I can show you actually, if you would prefer. I can switch to my kind of wonky camera view. Was I using the camel camera? Remind me. I'm pretty sure I was. Yes.
Yes.
Lindy, I did make you co-host, but I can pin this now, but This is one of the things we wondered about is when I'm pinning and then you're pinning, whether or not we're actually recording what's happening. So I'm really hoping that it is. It will be on the QuickTime, but I'm not sure about the Zoom recording. Let me go to an actual pattern so this makes a little bit more sense. But you're talking about this main tile here you're wanting to export, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I do. I just go to the export right here. So that was right in the main menu, right?
Okay.
And you just hit export there and you'll get all of these options here. If you're exporting it in order to take it to, let's say, Spoonflower, a PNG would be what I would recommend. And if I generally don't even mess around with any of this other stuff here, I leave it as is, and I've never had any trouble with it. I don't think if you've not changed it ever, then don't worry about changing it at this point, and then just hit OK. And then this is going to take you to wherever it is that you want to export. So if I wanted to save that one in my examples made with templates, then I would just hit save. You're going to pick whatever your location is. And then if I go now and take a look in that folder in my pattern, oops, sorry, pattern design, where are we? Master templates. And I think I did this in a folder called examples made with templates. Where is it? Maybe this one. And I think it was the quad. Anyway, these are the ones that I have exported. So you can see a whole bunch of them here.
Okay, but the first thing you did was went up to the top right of that file and you hit toggle, was it preview mode?
Yeah, and you don't have to do that. It'll still just export what's within this square. I only did that to illustrate the fact that you are working with only this tile. This is all that's exporting.
Yeah.
You can have it still in this view, and
You can also save it
Did-
directly to your photos. So like Dolores, when you were in
yes,
the
you could.
export
Yeah,
screen, instead of saying okay,
yeah,
Pam, on the bottom left, I think it says
right here.
share or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then you can just save right to your photos because
Okay.
I
But
can't
for,
find my stuff in folders.
yeah. So if you hit share here, then you'll still get a bunch of options that come up like airdrop or whatever. But you could, if you do the save image
Yeah.
here, it's going to save it into your photos. So now if I was to go into my photos, you would, it'll pop up there right there. So that's the most recent one.
okay, but for whatever reason, am still having trouble getting that middle tile, just that tile. I don't know what
So
I'm doing wrong.
did you make the template yourself, or is
I
this
did.
one of Dolores's?
I made the
So
template.
she made it herself. Yeah. So I think
Is
that's what the problem is. She doesn't know how to export that center tile,
Right.
how to set that up in her
Pam,
canvas.
is your center tile the one you want to export? Is it the entire artboard?
No, just that middle single
Yeah, so
tile.
what the way Dolores is doing it is what it's exporting is your artboard. So you might want to either maybe change your artboard to be the tile part that you want to export.
Yeah, I think there was a question about that too. Just clarification on exporting. Also, in the membership under the questions where people were having trouble exporting, and it was they wanted to know, do they need to be working on an artboard in order to be able to export that tile? Because they seem to be not having problems if they're exporting from an artboard, but if they're not, then they have the trouble. And is that kind of what I guess is happening here?
Yes.
I'm thinking maybe that's what it is. I could take a look at your file, Pam, and double check it. I'm not sure exactly. I can't open it right now. I only get the link to it. And I would have to download it and open it on my iPad and double check. And so it's right now, because I'm doing this on my desktop with you guys, I could airdrop it, but it'll be a process. So if you don't mind, I
Okay.
will check it later. And
Thank-
that is a good point though, because all of mine would have been set up with that initial artboard. So I would have to double check that. I can't, just off the top of my head, I don't remember if you can do it if you don't have an artboard. And I'm pretty sure that the same thing would go if you were in the expert persona, that you would want to have that artboard. Although
I
you
think
could, I think you
Yeah,
could do this
Dolores, when you
little.
were in the export and you said if you haven't touched your settings, don't touch them. There is somewhere in there though where you can say export, like if you have multiple artboards, you can say export artboard 1 or artboard 2. I know there are like some little things like that, but I've never done it where I was trying to export something other than an artboard. So I think that's the thing that, you know,
Okay.
we'd have
Yes,
to
it-
figure out. But
So
there
that-
are some drop downs that give you some options.
I see that Jasmine has her hand up and she's probably more of an expert on export.
Yeah. I never create an artboard and I am still able to export. What you need to do is you need to make sure that when you select, you have the size of your document that you need, whatever the size, 3,000 or whatever size you use, right? And make sure that it says like a whole document, or if you have artboards, just select the artboard. But if you don't have the artboards, you select the whole document and it will still trim to the dimensions of your specific tile. But yeah, I think maybe it has to look at it and see why it's not printing, because I never used artboards and I use artboards after the fact,
Yeah.
but not, I
Wait,
haven't
but
had any
I
issues. And then
feel like when
Dolores,
I
I
open
wanted
a,
to,
but Jasmine, when I open a document, it is an artboard in whatever size.
There is a spot
Yeah,
that you
you
can flip
can.
it off or on. And I know with
But what's the
Jasmine,
difference? If my whole document is my artboard, what's the difference of having an artboard or not? You know
Good
what I mean?
question. Yeah.
I use the artboard if I want to trim things and move them into my assets. There are different uses for the artboards.
With artboard, you can have multiple works
right.
in one
And-
document. You can
Yes.
have multiple artboard in different
Like scale.
But yeah, you can have multiples.
Yeah,
But I guess
and
I'm
you
just
can have
saying, if I have one 12 by 12 document and I have one 12 by 12 artboard that takes up the whole 12 by 12 document,
but if
they're
you
one
have
and the
another
same to me,
artboard,
right?
yes, but you can take the artboard tool and make another. It can be 6x6
Right.
for example.
Yeah, you can create more.
It's useful for me when I have to do collections because
Yes.
I have all the tile in the same document.
Yes.
So I watch the colors, all things. So I use a lot of artboards when I do collections because it's more easy for me because
See 'em all at once.
all my work in one document. So you can export then only one or two or three or all artboards, and you can save the document like this. So you have all things. But I think clip to canvas it's useful when you have to export the tile. I don't use it because I know that if you click on the layer and you take the center tile, you export only the center tile. But to canvas, it's useful because you see only what you export. So because the software make for you.
Yes.
You can do
I've-
also in the layer panel, when you
Yes.
click on a single layer and then you export only this. If you choose export what is area or whatever is
Slice.
Yeah.
type, whatever is the name. So,
I know that in some templates, when you go to save it, you can save the whole area, or
Yes.
it will ask you if you want to
you can choose
save.
only the selection that you have made, or the selection area or something like this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
when
it's
you
the
use
whole document or the selection area.
yes,
So I know some of them, if you click on the selection area, it will pick up just that single middle tile,
yes,
as opposed to the whole document. But that's not always the case in every template. So
I know that I have set up every template that I set up personally, that the artboard that you're working on in the middle is the one that you export, and it's going to work perfectly every time.
okay.
If I'm not sure if like you have made your own template, I would have to just double check it Pam, to see if I misled you in any way or that somehow you missed a little step, that's all. And I'll double check.
Not that you've misled me, it's just that I did something wrong. Okay.
My goal is
Yeah.
to make it as easy as possible for you to have success. And one of the reasons I like everybody to go through the process of making a template is I think that's how you fully understand how symbols work. And then if you never want to use that template again, throw it away, because I've made all the other templates that you could possibly need, and you could easily pick up every one of those templates in the template club. But I really think that the knowledge of the symbol making process is what helps you to fully understand that every little thing that you're doing after you do that process yourself. So there is a class coming up, like it's a pattern you've all done already before, but I've done it in a different way. And I'm forcing you to do the template yourself. Even though I'm providing it, I want you to try this particular one because I think that it also will just reinforce all that stuff that I've been teaching you. You know, that'll be one, it'll be next week's class. So this was my other question to you is, are we ready to continue? I've got a class completely ready. So if not, I think I can wait till Sunday, and on Sunday I could post that one class, which could be a whole week's work because you're going to try it 5 times. You're going to do multiple versions of it possibly. And then I've got 2 other classes left after that for you. So I'm trying to get this all in, and we really only have 2 weeks left. So what would you prefer that I do? Slam you with all of it this weekend, and then we have 2 weeks of work that we can do in the live sessions if you need help with it. I know that some of you will not have had a chance to do all of the patterns and all of the lessons and all of the classes, but I'd be willing to meet again in a week or 2 after that. We'll end the class, like we said, on I think it was the 3rd or something of September. But I'm okay with going 1 more week after that. But then I'm also okay with meeting a month later, and I'll leave the community live so that we can continue to work within the community. What will be happening is the card challenge will be going on at that time too. But I think I would love to then touch base with you after you've all had a chance to go through all of this stuff. So does that sound like thing that you'd like to do?
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say as long as you're willing to stretch the course, I think we're all willing to keep coming. If you want to just throw all the content in at once, we'll do it in our own time anyway.
If I think what this
Right.
has taught me, this whole running of this class, is that it would be a lot better for everybody if there were 2 implementation weeks. You know what? I'm 100% willing to do things like that, like to stretch things instead of having 1 week of class, then 1 week of implementation, 1 week of class. But I don't want to lose people either, because there's some people who can't stretch things out that far. Oops, I just moved my camera. Oh, hopefully it'll be okay when we get back to it. Yeah, like I'm pretty flexible. It's just that I've got these other live things that are going to start coming up then, because then there'll be my card challenge, and then right after that will be my Affinity Designer foundations again. Yeah, lots of stuff going on. Were there any other things, Lindy, that I need to demo or question?
Wait,
So,
right now in the chat, people are talking about importing ASC files. Can you show how you would?
yeah, like for the color palette.
I can give you an ASC color palette real quick if you want.
I have never done it, so you'll have to give me
Oh.
one. And I've never imported them into Affinity Designer, so
I think Debbie.
Maybe Kay or Jasmine can tell you
Kay
how, because they say
Jasmine.
they've done it.
Yes. Go to the color and click import and find the file and.
But click import from what? From the assets or from?
The color palette.
oh my God.
You have to go in the color tab in your colors. And
I
then
just
from,
dropped a palette in the chat.
yeah, just like you would import your assets or anything else, but you have to be in the color
tools.
I can't grab it from there because I'll have to
Can-
transfer to my phone, but I think I probably have some on my iPads. So you go to the color palette,
Mhm.
import palette.
Wait, Lindy, can you spotlight her?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Let me.
Just
Oh
move it
yeah.
on me.
Yeah. There you go.
So there's an import option in there.
Import palette. Let's do this application palette, and I probably have ASC. Yeah, so I do have some here, so that would be that simple. So
Yeah. Oh, good.
it's probably picking it up from iCloud somewhere on who knows from where.
What I tend to do with my color palettes, not if it was like 50 colors, but if it's less than 10, I just make that an asset, and then I have an asset group of color palettes, and then I just
Yes.
grab them from there and throw them on the side.
Yeah, I have some, or one at least I can show you like that too. So I've done it that way too. I've done color palettes 4 or 5 different ways, just whatever works at the time that I'm working on it.
Your palette works, Melanie. I
Oh,
done
you brought it in?
and it works.
I just downloaded the first one that came up on Coolors.
This is
Sorry,
great.
I missed that.
I got Coolors Pro, and I literally just downloaded the first palette that came up when I opened the app.
Yeah,
How much
so
is
worked.
Coolors Pro, Melanie?
It was something really cheap. It was like $3 a month or something, and I think I
Oh,
paid for
okay.
a year. So it was like $36 for the year. And
Oh, that's
so if
good.
you just use the free version, you can only have 5 colors. But if you have the pro version, you can go up to 10 colors, and that was what I needed. So
Yeah. Oh, that's good to
yeah, and then I got obsessed with downloading color palettes on there.
know.
So
Now I have
this
more
one came
colorways.
in.
What?
This one did come in okay, so that's
Oh, okay.
there. And then I do
Oh,
have
perfect.
somewhere color palettes that I have saved, but I don't remember exactly.
Oh, they'd be in your assets, right? Are those ones you're talking
Right. I have, oh, you're right. Like I do have some in my assets here. Unless I've just recently taken them off because there were so many I had to get rid of some of them. So
Mm.
I think I may have taken it off because I just wasn't using it anymore. But I think I have them with certain classes. I'll say you can import this palette and it will come in as an asset.
Mm.
So I don't see one here right off the top of my head, but
I think one of the questions was that when you're working, how a lot of times it shows up where you can have your color palette on the side of the artwork that you're working on, or or when you have the assets that you're using on the side of your like artboard. I think
yeah,
there was a question on how to get to that point and
like
how to use that. Yeah. How
yeah,
when you
so
have all your things outside.
to not have it repeating within your template is what you mean?
I think there was just a question about how to use that function and what would you use it for. So
Okay,
when you
so I'll show you exactly what I would use it for. So if I was working on this and I wanted to start changing out my colors here,
Mhm.
having the palette here saves me from having to go into the color palette because I can just use the eyedropper here, grab the eyedropper and then sample a new color and it'll change it.
Okay.
So that would be my point for having this just on the side here. And as you can see, it's not within my repeat. It's completely separate. If it was in my repeat, you would see it repeating everywhere. So I've always got that just completely separate. So I think I created that because then I'm working on this entire collection. So it makes it
Mhm.
easier for me to then be able to just pop that little color palette into all of the other documents that I'm creating because this is a part of the collection that I'm doing the last class about, which is creating the collection,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. So this is this
Okay.
is my whole collection in the end that I'm working on. So I've done the whole class based on creating the collection.
Dolores, can you go back to the where you actually change the color of the flower? Because when you first clicked on it, it's in a group. And then then I have to go in the layer menu, and it's always hard to
You don't
grab
have
things
to,
that
you
are
just
in
keep
the group.
tapping.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you just keep tapping it and it finally let you in the group?
Yeah, it's as you're tapping it, you're getting further and further into whatever. So right now, you can see I've got the whole group
Yeah.
selected. So then I tap more and I get to whatever the next thing is, that's where I'm tapping. And if I was
Okay.
to let's say I wanted to now tap to get that middle one, I just had to continue tapping. So
Usually have to open the group, click on something in the group, and then I can tap within the group. Okay, that's good to know. If you keep tapping, it'll take you
yeah,
down.
yeah. And then if I had my little color palette here, then I could be changing my color palette there. So this is my other template that I was working on. The sixth one.
Ooh,
Sixth,
sixth one.
and this is the what I would call the ditzy floral. So this one, I haven't made a class on it and I haven't put the template out yet. So I'm just undecided as to what I want to do with it, with the template. This is one of those dilemmas as a teacher, and I'm running a business. Keep that in mind. How much am I giving away and how much am I using as incentive for people to join the membership or selling or whatever? And I made the 2 power packs of templates as upsells for the course. If I want to upsell the course next year, I need to have a bunch of templates ready. And believe me, the problem is not coming up with templates. I have enough templates for another year and a half, probably. But we're undecided as to whether or not to continue the template club because it actually doesn't get a lot of use. Which that's another thing, is just a question of why aren't more people using it? And then also, how can I make it so people use it more? And what's missing that's what would help you as a pattern designer? I'm wanting to appeal to the masses of pattern designers out there. What helps you more? What helps you? And why would you avoid using templates? Or why would you be afraid of using templates? What is the thing that could help you if
My guess is the lack of use is partly a lack of awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Dolores, you should send a survey to your membership. And do you know about the template club? Do you use the template club? Why do you not use the template club? I'm sure people would respond. And honestly, I think, I don't know how many members you have, but I think more than half are probably like more Procreate. So I think a lot of people's answers might be, I don't use Affinity. That's all my speculation.
But it's definitely a way to draw people over to Affinity when you see how snappy these templates are, and for the ease of use and for being able to work more efficiently. They sell themselves once people can see them in action. So maybe
Yeah.
when you release the template club, you should also just do a little mini video. You can even do a time video of you just dropping in things, or even a real-time video showing, hey, I did this pattern in 3 minutes, just pulled my assets and it all came out.
I would say have 1-minute shorts and put them on YouTube and put them on Instagram, because I think if you get those eyeballs, hey, Affinity users, do you want to make a pattern in 10 minutes? Check out my template. Look what I did, blah, blah, blah.
okay. Yes, Rhonda, go ahead.
The other thing too, like Melanie said, a lot of people probably use Procreate. You can use assets that you make in Procreate in Affinity Designer to make a pattern way easier than you can in Procreate.
Yeah.
That's another thing that might pull some of them over. If you show something like, hey, you have all of these assets you've created in Procreate, just bring them over here, pop them in these little spots.
Yeah.
Okay, so if they did let's say this is a quad repeat template, so they just draw 4 things shaped approximately like this, and PNGs,
Yeah.
if they could, because they could use the PNGs, they wouldn't have to do the auto tracing.
Right, exactly. I've done it before and it works great.
Yes.
And then that way, if you survey and you find out 75% of people are only using Procreate, hey, guess what? I have a few that you don't even need to know Affinity.
Because you can move them around and turn them and do all of that in Affinity Designer that you cannot do in Procreate without degrading the quality. But you can move it around in Affinity all the time and it stays exactly the same. I've done it a bazillion times.
Wait, Rhonda, even once it's a PNG, you can do whatever you want with it?
You can do whatever you want. You don't want to make it larger than what it is. So I
Yeah.
draw like on a 10 by 10 canvas on Procreate, and I'll draw like a single flower or a stem or leaves or whatever, pull it into Affinity Designer. And obviously it's never going to stay 10 by 10. It's always going to be a lot. So I'm not worried about quality, but I could turn it around, flip it, do whatever I want. And it works great.
Okay, does anybody not actually understand or want clarification on that right now. I'm understanding.
Okay. I thought everything we brought in from Procreate had to be vectorized. Why does the PNG not have to be vectorized?
None of them have to be vectorized. Like you absolutely can work in Affinity Designer exactly like you do in Procreate and create a raster-based file. So you don't have to create vectors to create files. It's just the quality of the vector if you are going to use it either like professionally, and by what I mean professionally is that somebody's asking you specifically for a vector file.
Okay.
You can
Yeah.
definitely use anything that you've created in Procreate in Affinity Designer as is, and like exactly what Rhonda said, make them big so that you're not enlarging them when you get them in there. You can reduce them in size. You
Okay.
could totally do that. And it is something that I don't talk about a lot, or I haven't in classes a lot, because I do Procreate and I do Affinity Designer, but I'm creating a lot more stuff just using the pixel persona or using the pixel persona extensively within my pattern. Like that pattern that I showed you at the beginning, that with the red flowers there, I'll show you it again, is all done using, I've got the vector. So this is the template that everybody has used this week. This is the exact same template, but I've hand painted every one of these flowers. And I also used a raster pattern in the background here. This is a very cool thing because you need to, when you're creating raster-based backgrounds in this like pattern template and in a vector program like this, you can only do the raster-based stuff within that artboard that you're working on. And so I'll show you what I did here to get around the fact that the backgrounds were going to cut off. So let me just take these out and show you. So what I used is a raster-based brush.
Other thing though, I would say when you bring a PNG in, just remember like you're bringing in essentially a photo, so you can't do anything to it. So like you can't add an outline, you can't change the color. So it's the same as bringing in a picture, and it has to be like 100% done when you bring it in because you can only make the most minor of changes to it. Yeah.
Because you can bring that thing in and then you can completely change it with the raster.
I'm saying you can't do the vector things to it. So like for me, if I'm bringing something in from Procreate, but then I want to make minor changes and use the benefits of vector, that's why you'd have to auto trace it.
Right.
But if you want to just use it like a photo, you can bring it in.
Okay.
So I want to just show you the background here. This looks pretty goofy without anything showing on it, but that was the background. So I added an extra background here because I wanted to use this particular brush to add that texture in the background. But you know that most of the time when you're painting within your pattern here, you add a pixel layer, it's going to do this, it's going to cut off, right? So what I did, you could either do it by adding a pixel layer outside of your design. Let me go back enough so I've got, yeah, I want all my stuff to be still here when I'm done. So I could add a layer back here, like above everything, and I can still, this is still going to happen. But what I did is I would draw what I needed to, and then I would move it off to the side, and then I would be able to continue drawing it and just keep moving it. If it was within my repeat, I could see that I could have it so that it is actually repeating everywhere in the background there. So I was adding a lot of pixel related stuff on my pattern or within my pattern. Now, of course, I wouldn't let this go. Like I definitely wouldn't have this hard edge here. I would have done it so that didn't happen, which is exactly what I did. I made sure that I did these circles and moved them out. And
So it wouldn't let you draw outside the artboard, but it would let you move it outside the artboard?
yes,
Gotcha.
so that's a really important thing to note. And this is something else that I've been doing is I've been creating my own brushes that are raster based brushes. These are from all of my packs that you've used in the assets. Like these are assets that I have, plus they're brushes in Procreate. Let me just do a new document. If I switch to the pixel persona, I'm working in Procreate. These are stampable brushes, so I can just stamp my little brush on there. And I can also add additional detail to, if I wanted to ink something in there, I would switch to an inking brush or whatever.
Why would you want that flower as a pixel stamp as opposed to a vector asset?
You wouldn't want it necessarily for that, but it's when I'm doing something like the bouquets that you've seen a million times, sometimes it's just faster to stamp some stuff in there at the back.
Isn't that the same as just stamping an asset or not really?
No, because they aren't vector.
I know, but I'm saying if you had it saved as a vector asset, are you just saying you don't want to go back to the vector persona? You'd rather just stamp it quickly when you're still in the pixel?
There is something faster about using a brush and stamping
Okay.
than there is about going to the asset gallery and inserting your thing and then resizing it and all that. So
Okay.
I'm really just starting to do that. So it's not like I wouldn't say it's so much faster, but it is faster in certain conditions. So in certain instances. Yeah, I know that it must be super confusing to be listening to me right now. And like I'm trying to give you the option of being able to think a little bit beyond what you have been taught. So you're being taught the importance and the value of having vectors, but it doesn't mean that you have to completely just not use raster ever. So I want you to consider that fact just simply because there are going to be times where you're going to be wanting that convenience of using a vector that's going to have a sharp edge no matter what, and being able to use it and paint within it. I find that's really fast to do. As far as painting is a lot more meticulous and hand drawing is more meticulous. When you've got a vector and it's a stencil and you're literally just painting within there, I can whip up, like paint a gouache flower way faster if it's already got the stencil, if that's actually got the outline. So that's where I'm at with that. I want your mind to be open to all of it.
That's a good way of thinking about it too, as like a stencil. Because I know Alona has mentioned on our previous calls or even in our Tuesday call that her struggle with Affinity and everything being vector is that she doesn't feel it gives it that level of detail or the contrast that she wants, where everything just looks very rigid and
Like
it
flat.
just doesn't have that painterly feel to it that she likes to get in her art. And so I think sometimes too, it's that other way of looking at it. And I think too, she's in that beginning stage like I am. So it's hard to wrap your brain around just working. She doesn't like working within just the shapes and stuff like that, which is what I struggle with because it's a tedious part. But I do like your point about when you are in that beginning phase, when you aren't an expert at maneuvering through the vectors or through the shape process, having it to where you can use some of the things that you have created in Procreate. And maybe that is a good transition and a way to serve both audiences is to be like, hey, look, this is what you have in Procreate, what we've used in Procreate, but now let's see what we can do with it if we took it into Affinity. What could we do with it then? And so I think that's a good way of getting people open to that idea of Affinity and then really slowly getting on board. I see the potential of resizing infinitely because for me, I wanted to apply for an artist call and it was to do the electrical boxes in San Marcos, a neighboring city not too far away. And so they did a call for art. Those boxes are huge, those electrical boxes. And so I was so limited in Procreate by what I could create because I needed it to be the size of this
So you had two
art
layers.
and yeah, there's no way. And so it's like that's one of the cases where it's something very specific where Affinity, I could do that and I could provide a high quality, high level piece of artwork that can be made and enlarged and for something like that. And so I think, like you said, there's times when you really need to be able to expand it and enlarge it. And then there's other times where you're never going to make it bigger than what you created. And it's fine for that too. So I think that's a good explanation. And I appreciate you sharing that today.
Thanks, Lindy. I appreciate you appreciating it. And I want to hear from some of you who really have you're even having a hard time wrapping your head around what we're talking about. Like, what backtrack can I make to help you? Do you have something really specific that has just held you back from getting a little bit further with what you're doing? Or are you feeling like it's okay?
Everything's okay for me. I just find myself going off, and I enjoy making little assets and designs, and maybe taking too long to do it because I'm not doing it the right way, but oh, I'll make that shape. I'll just trace some more flowers, and then I'll take the class again, and then I'll make some assets because I really like doing it. And I just you need to practice some of the techniques and go back to the beginning classes for the method of doing it. But otherwise, it's pretty good. I like it. I've been telling everybody, oh, I'm doing this online class. It's so great.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Who else would consider themselves quite the beginner and would love to just, Kate, go ahead, Anne.
I actually just started drawing a couple years ago, and my biggest struggle is liking what I draw. So I think that holds me up a lot. I spend a lot of time futzing with things because I'm like, oh, this is ugly. And then I go to sleep, and the next day it's, oh, not too bad. So that's my biggest problem.
That's
Is
normal.
when do you get out of it?
When do you
Never.
find then it's easier to do things where you're using a shape and then reshaping that shape to be something? Because that's another, no, okay, because I'm definitely,
I think that's a really, really cool thing to do, and I have done it, but I tend to draw on paper first and then just ink it
okay,
that way. I don't know why, it just makes me more comfortable. And then I have that
fair enough.
picture of my iPad, and yeah.
Wait, so Anna, is your issue you liked it on the pencil sketch and you didn't like when you tried
Yes.
to ink it? Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yep. I have to figure that out. But
Is that just practice with Affinity that like you just can't get
No.
like the shape that you want? Because I
No,
have that problem in Affinity where I have the smoothness of Procreate that I don't have in Affinity, and I have to like
okay,
practice.
see, I do not even
Yeah.
know Procreate at all.
Okay.
It matches, but I like to shade with pencil and things, and I'm trying to learn how to do all that on top of the vector. I'm starting to use those pixel brushes. Yeah, so that's helped a lot.
Okay,
But
that's super good to know for me too, because I can cover that more. Debbie, I also am seeing your comments or your questions here about shades and tints. And I don't know if it will actually answer your question, but if ever any of you you're trying to get shades and tints of a certain color, if you create a gradient with the darkest shade being the color that you want and then white on the other end, you can use the eyedropper to sample and get tints of the color. Yes, you can. Yeah, so when I was doing the color wheel, teaching the color wheel to my students, analog, we're talking painting, we would paint the pure hue on the end of on the outside of the color wheel, and then divide the wedges, like the pie shaped wedges. And one side they would add more and more white until they got to almost white in the middle. And on the other side, they would add a little bit of black and create shades. So that's how you would create the shades and the tints manually. And then I know in one of my Procreate classes on Skillshare that I also teach that kind of a method when you're using and trying to create shades and tints in Procreate, like in just mixing more white and I've done color mixing classes. Debbie, I don't know if that answers your question, but your hand is up, so go ahead and verbalize.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about that transition from analog to digital. And of course, that's my age group. And one time when I early had Procreate, I took a painting that I had taken a picture of, my own painting, a little cat, and I said, okay, I need to deconstruct this and see if I can do this in Procreate, because I wouldn't have a paintbrush in my hand. I wouldn't have all these things. And that was actually very difficult for me mentally, because I could just be picking up the paint and mixing it and dabbing it on. But now I got to go figure out the brush, and then I got to click over here for the color, and it's not mixing together. And so what you end up becoming is this process artist, meaning that we go into digital, and most of what we get sidetracked on or end up with is based on what we can actually accomplish process-wise in the software. I haven't made that transition beautifully at all. In other words, I go in and I want to design a card and it looks like it's done in Illustrator. It does not look like what I really want it to look like, as if I had analog media in my hand. So I think there's going to be some people who just grow into digital and they've never touched a paintbrush, and they'll be just fine. And they'll make it look like watercolor and it'll be beautiful. And then there's the people who touch the watercolor and can't make it do it in the digital. And I don't have any answers. I just know that it's a sticking point.
That's called the gap, and exist until you put in a ton of practice and time and training and experimenting and observing. And what has happened in the modern age now is that new art forms have been created that are digital. And I've seen watercolor artists who call themselves watercolor artists who have never used watercolor. So all of what they've learned is digital watercolor, but it looks so real. And it's because I don't know if it's because they learned digital only, or whether they were able to bridge that gap between what they did analog into their digital. Maybe it's because of how well they were able to do the watercolor by hand, that they knew what they needed to do digitally to get there. It's going to be very different for lots of people. And I am teaching all this stuff that I call watercolor, but it's digital. It's not Jasmine's watercolor, like when she's painting a watercolor piece, nor is it like my watercolor. And I haven't touched my watercolors in a year, 2 years, maybe. I'm not painting that way anymore because I've switched to trying to do everything digital. And the more that I do it digitally, the better I'm getting at replicating. But it's not real. It's not the real media.
When you do like print on demand of watercolor, would you be able to tell if it was done analog or digital at that point? But that's what I'm saying though, like you can't even tell anymore.
I know Ness, who is going to be a speaker for us during the card challenge and maybe beyond. Of course, I worked with her with the summit, and we're going to work together a lot more. She is a fantastic artist, and all of her stuff that she does for art licensing is watercolor. And I look at it and it's really, that's digital? Like, really? That looks so, I can't tell. I can't tell.
Yeah.
So as a consumer, I would be there buying it because it's just so pretty or cute or whatever. And to me, it looks like real watercolor. It's printed on something I can't tell. This could go back to that same long argument that we could have about AI. And is it watercolor then? We're calling it watercolor, but it's digital. So it's not watercolor, but it's
digital watercolor.
So there's that argument. But yeah, we could get off on a tangent and talk about that for 45 minutes, I'm sure.
Going back to Rhonda, I think though, if you do end up doing like a survey and you pretty much find out that the majority of your membership likes Procreate, I think what Rhonda said, maybe do a class like, hey, Procreate users, do you want to take your Procreate assets and drop them in a pattern really easily? And then have one of those like 4 or 5 motifs, and then just do a class where you save your 4 PNGs, bring them in, and it doesn't even require a lot of, maybe have a template specifically that if you make a circle this size, like you really don't have to move things around, and it wouldn't have like leaves or stems or anything. It would just be like circular type assets.
How many of you use both? How many of you in this group use both Procreate and Affinity Designer? Interesting. Okay, so Linda, you don't use both. So you are in the vector world only. And so what
Well, I use Photoshop and
oh, right.
Illustrator.
Okay. So, and same with Jasmine, I think. But Jasmine, you use both, right? You use Procreate as well.
Yeah, I use Procreate sometimes. Yeah. I still like some of the hair brushes that I can't import yet, but yeah. Dolores, I wanted to add to the earlier discussion as well, is like none of my work these days is vector and it's selling. So I don't know why this attachment
Just don't
to
sell it for a billboard ad and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just don't put it on a billboard, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
if you're able to sell it, if it's working,
yeah,
why?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just what I think it's like what the industry it's wanting, right? Because I still see that there's a lot of vector that it's type of trending and it's in the stores, but there's also like the handmade stuff that or the hand painted or but to me, yeah, I don't know. I think they also the challenge is that gap, right? I feel like I can paint, but to translate that, I have to find the right brushes and I have to play with the brushes, and it's that gap that you discuss after this discussion earlier. But yeah, I for the most part just use my scanned or picture. Sometimes I just take a picture and clean it up in Affinity Photo quickly and then just bring it over and make
So you
mistakes.
don't paint things in everything is done by hand.
I used to, but now I just paint by hand. Like these are my breads that I'm making a pattern. With
See,
some
for
bread.
me, the scan it and the clean it and like that's the stuff. Even if I could do something analog, that to me was always a hurdle. But I don't do anything analog anyway, so.
But it's becoming very straightforward to do all that. The scanning, whatever scanner you use, and then with all these, I mean, you can create the actions or the macros and all that. It just and the new tools as well, like the Affinity Photo recently also updated their in the latest update. They just have a new selection tool, and you just select, and that's it. So it's making it a lot more efficient as well. So maybe, but it's a few extra steps for sure. But
Or even like when I share lettering challenges on Instagram, like the idea of taking a picture and like having the shadow right and the light, I'm like, it's so much easier to just save photo. Like I don't have to worry about the shadow.
But
Kay's got her hand up. I want to hear from Kay.
Yeah.
You know what? The hand was just like blending in with your
it looks
background.
like her flowers,
Yeah. Go ahead, Kay. I think you might be muted.
I don't have my hand up.
Oh, it's up.
You do.
I don't know how I got up. Okay, I'm so sorry.
You do use both Procreate and Affinity Designer. And so what's your take on our conversation then about just the combination, I guess? And would you say that you are, sorry about the train, are you using the pixel persona much in Affinity Designer, or are you still more likely to do your pixel-based stuff in Procreate?
I like to do both, but if I am making something specifically that I know, like a flower that I'm going to want to have pixel in for my shading and stuff, I now do it in Affinity. I do the decoupage paper stuff in Procreate because I'm working on a whole thing and I'm doing layers and layers and I'm adding this and I'm adding that. But if I'm doing a design for surface pattern design, I pretty much am trying to use strictly Affinity now.
Okay, good. And what's your preference then? Are you doing that because you just feel it's more efficient, or it
Mhm.
gives you more flexibility? Okay.
Yeah. Because if I'm looking at it and then I think, oh, I don't quite have the shape of that flower, then I can just flip back into my vector and change the shape of the flower. And yeah, I like to work with them both in the same place.
I have found that when I'm painting an asset that I've created, that's when I end up going in and editing the vector a little bit, because I'll be doing my brush strokes and my asset is not quite the right shape. And I love the fact that I can go in and do that. So it's not inked. I don't have to go in and erase it or anything. I just have to move a couple points and it's going to work.
Yeah. I would say one of my biggest frustrations with the pixel persona is I can't erase and I can't change the color. I love just alpha lock, change the color. I know you can do the recolor and I can't swipe around a color wheel the way you can. But I think the lack of alpha lock to just change a color is frustrating. And then maybe actually there was an eraser, but I tried to use it and it was hard. For me, if I can get it right the first time, the pixel persona is great. But then if I'm not getting it right the first time, I get really frustrated.
So there is an alpha lock, but I'm not sure how it works on really painterly things.
I say even today I had a text like a linen texture that was black.
Okay, yeah.
And I wanted to just turn it. I tried to do this in Affinity and I wanted to make it blue like my other color. And then I was like trying to put a layer on it and I was trying to, I'm like, this is so stupid. And I just went to Procreate.
Okay. Yeah. This is the thing about creating using, if you're comfortable with both software, then just do the fastest way. Don't feel like you're stuck within the program. If you're using only that program, then yes, learn the ways to change things within the program. But if you're faster to do it in Procreate, just go do it in Procreate.
Yeah.
If you've got both. It's different than me saying go do it in Photoshop, because then you're doing $100 a month to just go do a change in color or whatever. But when the program is $10 and it's on your iPad anyways, and you can do it quickly and you can save it into your photos and you can access it within a minute, then why do it the long way? However, do learn, if you are doing something over and over again and you're having to go back and forth between the software, it does make sense to invest the time in just learning how to do it in the same software. That's my words of wisdom for today, but thanks everybody for your input today. Juanita, was there anything in particular that you wanted to ask about, or Lisa?
Wait, there's a in the chat.
Sherry has
Sherry
a
has one
question
in the
about,
chat.
yeah, Sherry and Michelle both had similar questions about wanting to know more about the recolor tools, how it's done, and the different tools that you can use to recolor. Can it be done on more than one motif or layer at a time? Any other tips about the tool would be great.
Okay, let me get something ready here. And so I would need a vector asset or a raster asset. I'll just use a brush and I'll get something ready and show you. Just give me 2 seconds to switch.
While you are doing that, I'll just say that, yeah, I don't have anything to offer today. I'm still just so new.
Go around.
Yeah. Thank you for noticing me. I appreciate that. Thank you for including me.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime you ever need anything at all, just don't hesitate to reach out either in the community or directly to me or whatever. If there's something that comes up in a class and you need some help, I'm happy to help.
Thank you. Thank you.
I always try to include everybody just in case you have something and you just don't want to just jump in.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's try something here. We'll draw whatever, doesn't matter, I guess, right? So if this is a raster-based element right now, I can take the eraser and erase it, for example, right? If ever you have an issue with the eraser, one of the things is to remember that it is a pixel-based eraser, so it's going to, whatever brush you choose is what the eraser is going to do. So I usually go with one of these ink brushes if I want a really nice, easy eraser, right? That does a really just straight erasing. So that's one thing to keep in mind, because if you might have been on a watercolor brush and then you went to erase with the watercolor brush, it didn't really work. So there's that. To recolor it, so if I had several elements and I had several layers, so let's just add a couple of other things here. And I'll go back to the flower stamps and I would have a different color. Let's do a nice pinky color. And I had my flower. What's happening? Where am I? Oh, I'm on my eraser. So if I had, I'll make it big, a flower. Okay, these things right now are not in a group. And so if I were to now put the recolor adjustment on this, so this is going to answer that question. As I have the recolor adjustment only on top of these two things, it's going to recolor everything on my canvas, okay? So if I wanted to make sure that it's only going to recolor the flower, I would group those two. And as soon as I made it into group, that the recolor adjustment has gone into the group. And so it's only affecting that flower. So that, does that answer your question in a way, Sherry? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And then
Yeah. So
it's only affecting the flower at this time. So if I wanted to do the same thing with the leaf thing here, I'll make it a little bit bigger. I would put this into a group and then I would select that. And then that's what I would apply the recolor adjustment to. Now, I know that Jasmine was mentioning also that you could do a color overlay. So the only thing I don't remember or know about the color overlay, Jasmine, is how
At
to,
the yeah, at the top you see the little dot, the black dot in the contextual menu right at the top. Yeah,
okay,
there you go.
so
And
that's
then
the color.
you can
Okay,
select
right.
different things, and there's
Menu,
different profiles there as well that you can select.
what menu is that in to get the color overlay? The
It was
FX
in
one?
the effects menu instead, and it's a
Okay.
toggle. You toggle it on.
And then wait, if you use the color dot, can you use like the eyedropper or like a hex
Yeah,
code or something? Oh, that's
yeah.
much better.
Yeah,
Dolores
like
in
right now it's
the
on swatches, but you could, first of all, you could
just click
switch to
the
any of the
colors
palette.
just on this in
Yeah,
there, Dolores, just click
yeah,
colors. And also where it says colors, you can just select different options. Yeah, where it says color wheel, the lowest one down.
right.
Yeah, there's options in there and it's like a hex. Yeah, that
Yeah,
one. Oh,
yeah.
you had it. Where you can just enter the hex code. I don't remember exactly,
I think it's
but
under RGB,
it's
maybe.
like
No,
Yeah,
hex
no,
but
no.
even having the
There we
RGB.
go. So
eyedropper,
here
Yeah.
then you can just grab it.
put it
Yeah.
in here. But if you did have a color that you were trying to match, let's say this one I now wanted to match to this, I could use the eyedropper. Wait a sec, I have to go back to this. Go to the color overlay, use this
You can,
eyedropper. How come it's not working?
oh, you have to drag it.
Sorry?
Don't you have to drag it?
Oh yes, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah.
So those are two ways. And you know, of course, within these, you can also, if you've got another layer, you add a pixel layer here and you do a little bit of painting with something like a pixel shader or brush you want to use. But that really is annoying when it does that. We're going to do a different color so that you can see this. I'm doing this because I'm going to color that flower, add a pixel layer, and then do the coloring. This can also be used and clipped to whatever you paint. So this is in the pixel persona, it's like creating a clipping mask, Procreate. But all I did was drag it right onto it. So you just take it and you drag it onto, and don't do it on the actual flower. Don't drag this onto the flower because it's a completely different thing that you create. What you want to do is drag it onto like the label of this layer. And then I could continue coloring here. So I quite often use this to do like my gouache painting techniques. So I'm wanting to add a little bit of a gouache texture to this flower. I don't know if you can see it there because it's too dark, but I'm painting. I'm giving it a gouache painted finish here, and I can do all the stuff that I normally do, darken the color or change the color or change the size of the brush. A lot of times I'll do like a darker area here in the middle. And then I'll get smaller and darker and keep doing that until I get a nice dark area in the middle. So I've given that flower some depth. You could then also use your blending and do things like pull out some of those lines.
Wait, what tool did you use for that, for the blending?
The little blur brush or smudge brush tool.
Oh, okay.
And for some reason, the smudge brush, the size is at the top, which I think is so dumb. They have the strength at the bottom. You can get the size bigger and you can really blend things out quite nicely this way. And I also do a lot of my inking here, and I do often use the gouache brush to add my smaller detail lines in there. So if I wanted to do some nice small detail, I'll use something like a gouache brush and turn my canvas so that I can get the curve nice when I'm doing it. And that's a really good way to create a lot of depth with what you're doing. And then use your, I don't have any stamens or anything in my pixel persona, but in my vector persona, I do have flower centers.
Dolores, do global colors work with the pixel persona or no? It wouldn't, right?
No,
Okay.
oh, it wouldn't. No. So you're mostly stuck with those two different ways of
Yeah.
changing.
I was just
color.
thinking if you could recolor that quick. If you used pixels, you couldn't then do all that recoloring as easily.
No,
Yeah.
no, you're right. Not that I know of. Maybe there is a way, but not that I know of.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the recolor adjustment tool is for the pixel persona.
It's both. You can be in the affinity persona, like the vector persona, and you've got, let's say, this pixel layer. I decided I want to change my, let's say this was a vector flower that I'd put this pixel data into. I could go in and use the recolor adjustment and change that inner part of the flower. Like that could be changed. Why it's not changing at the moment, I don't know, but it's possible that I'd have to do this completely, like actually show you a vector shape. So let's just do a shape, fill it
I
with,
found that when I'm in the move tool, it recolors. I
What do
don't
you
know
mean?
why, because it's selected or something. When you're on that other flower, you can see me pointing at it, right? The one that you're trying to do first. When I've got the move tool selected, like so it's selected, and then the little changing of the color, those little things you're trying to do will work, like the recolor thing.
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's because this is actually a pixel shape, and then I've got a pixel
Oh, it's not a
shade.
vector shape to begin with. Got it.
No, so it's not going to change it. But if I had it here and I had this one, I had a pixel layer which had some pixel shading within it. Let's see, what was my last brush? Why are we not coloring in there? Okay, so if I had this and it was within the shape and I wanted to recolor it, so this is right now a rusty color, really ugly, and I want to use the recolor adjustment to change that, I could do that. So I would recolor, and you can see already that it's changing that pixel layer within that group. So that curve has become the group. This is the pixel shading that I had added, and the recolor adjustment is working on that layer, that pixel layer that I created. All right.
I'm ready to go color the rest of the afternoon.
Yes, me too. I feel like I know I want to record a little bit today. So I've had so many good ideas, both from last night's Thrive meeting and from today. I'm hoping to get some recording done. My daughter's run out of stuff to edit. She's caught up on all of my editing. So I know, right?
Just get recording.
I know. I got to get my act together. I've got a whole bunch of stuff I want to record for the card challenge, and I've got a whole bunch of I've always got something ongoing as far as recording, and I appreciate your time today, all of you, just sharing your kind of like ideas and obstacles and all that so that I can always work to improve all of my courses and things, my offerings. So always hit me up with questions if you have them in the community, and I will wait till Sunday then to release the next 2 courses. All right. And then I can send you a new schedule, or we can just, you guys who show up every week, you usually know, but I will put it in the community as to what days I'll be available. There'll be one day in October, or 1 week in October, where I will not likely be doing either of my lives, because we're going to take my mom to Calgary to see my aunt who's turning 100 and having a birthday party. So yeah, we'll be away for a few days. I'll keep you posted as to.
I'll just keep showing up on Wednesdays till you tell me to stop. So,
and you better show up
these days too.
Hey, I guess we have a card challenge to do a 100th birthday card.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And the card challenge coming up, there's so much to create for that. I've done a bunch of free stuff already for VIP upgraders, and I still have a lot to record for the new year. Vanessa and I are meeting on Friday to talk a little bit more about the card challenge and the other things that we're going to work on together. Yeah, just
as I was saying last night, how we were talking about using, like, you putting more stuff on your Instagram. At the very least, you should put up whatever class you released in the membership. You should put that project up on your Instagram and say, hey, want to learn how to make this? This is my new class this month in my membership. Sign up for this and get 100 more. That's the lowest hanging fruit, and it's free.
Yeah, no pressure. No pressure.
I know, but like I was just saying how I feel like her Instagram is just when she has like a push to like a particular product, but I just want to see more of her art.
Okay. I do get it. And I even like the other day, there was a call for, I don't remember where, I printed it off somewhere, but somebody looking for just, I want to see your portfolio. Send me your portfolio. So I just quickly went through and screenshotted a whole bunch of stuff in Procreate. Did I send it? No, of course I haven't done that yet, but like even those screenshots would be things I could easily share.
Right. And yeah, you don't have to make your Instagram all fancy and curated. Like, just throw up your art.
I just want to say too, that if you do scroll down through my Instagram, you'll see that you'll get beyond the part where I'm advertising stuff. Like I used to be.
Yeah, I think that's just lately. That's how much you've used it.
No,
yeah.
I totally understand what you're saying. I know you're not giving me heck. I know you're encouraging.
But I think that's it's free. Like, that's the easiest way for you to improve your visibility.
Yeah. I do know that's important. And I just got Instagram jaded because I get 100 people a day following me, and then my number would go up by 2 or 5 or whatever. It has gone up in the last 2 years. It's really gone up. I can remember I was stuck at 800 forever and ever, and it's at 2,800. So it is going. I need to give it some attention, and I need to do reels and videos and things like that. And I agree.
Don't even bother with reels. That's more work. Just put a picture. That's all you have to do. That's all I do.
I'll do it. And you are so good at it, Melanie. Anybody who is not following Melanie, she is on that. And it is unbelievable how prolific you are, with how ready you are to just do it and get it up there. And
she's a machine.
I do it when I first wake up. I have a couple things I made yesterday, and I just post them every morning while I'm still in bed.
Very smart. I have to pee when I get up in the morning. So
do that first, and then I get back in bed.
Go figure.
Me too.
And I had the worst night's sleep last night because I think I got up 11 times. It was so ridiculous. I think I got 5 hours of sleep. So I've been like a cross between grumpy or hyper or caffeine high today. I don't know what it is, but I'm in this weird, like, I can't even explain whether it's a mood or if it's a physical thing. And I have 8 hours still of work left to do today. And it's been live stuff all day today. I was at a 2-hour workshop before I did this. And yeah, so there's lots of stuff that I'm totally FOMO. Like, I really want to get on board with Pattern Week with Bonnie Christine. I really want to get on board with 15 different things that are going on. I haven't done anything with Leverage as far as proper promotion or anything like that. So I've just I'm almost like, I just can't do it all. I just have to start accepting the fact that I can't do it all, even though I have people helping me like Lindy and of course Kaylee the Magnificent. She is moving, I think. They still haven't got the signed paper for the house that they bought. They're literally on the brink. They've moved stuff to like her grandpa or his grandpa lives next door. They've moved stuff. Their apartment is an absolute disaster. Their son is going crazy because he's a toddler and the house is all weird and there's all this stuff going on, and she just needs this one piece of paper with this
That would
one
give me
signature.
so
So she is so super busy and stressed and working out of boxes and all that stuff. So it's been very hard for us to get the podcast episodes all done now. There's the blog posts, all the stuff that she does behind the scenes, the emails for the card challenge, and give her a shout out if you can. Just say you're doing great because she really is. And like podcast is all her. Once we record it, she does everything else. And to be doing it as we're doing all of this other stuff is just amazing, absolutely amazing. But I thank you all for being here today, and I will cut the meeting off now just simply because this will make it easier for me to try to get it on the hub faster than I did last time. And I'll go and set that setting to unlisted with so that you guys can get in so it's not private on that video. And thank you for
Oh,
pointing that out.
I say, Dolores, I think you still need to link the last one. There's a picture for week 5, but I don't think there's a link to YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think one week might be missing, like maybe week 2.
And I think that one is on YouTube as
It's
well.
still one on YouTube, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
really,
so you
really
might want
long.
to
It's so awful though,
add the
because like
link, yeah.
you only have the little tiny video screen, but
Mm.
okay, I'll go and check them all and I'll try to do that in the next day or two. Okay. Thanks for coming, everybody. Bye. Thanks, Lindy,
Bye.
for all the help.
No problem.